It's healthy to be alone, but for some people, they feel lonely when they are alone. In this video, I'm going to cover the difference between being alone versus being lonely, as well as how you can be alone without being lonely. Let's get into the facts. Being alone is an observable fact. There's no one around you physically. On the other hand, loneliness is an emotion and it is subjective. Someone that is lonely wants companionship. Most people feel lonely when they are alone, but it's also possible to feel lonely when you're surrounded by a lot of people. It's possible to feel lonely when you're in a crowd because you're not with a friend, or you can't relate to anyone around you. Being alone and being lonely do not have to go hand in hand, and it is possible to be alone without being lonely. No matter who you are, you will be spending a good amount of time alone, even if you are a very social person. Being alone is not necessarily a bad thing, so here are some methods to be alone physically without feeling loneliness. First off, you have to change the way you see being alone. One reason why some people feel lonely when they are alone is because they believe the condition of staying alone will be permanent. Once you understand staying alone isn't permanent, it gets better. You can actively work towards changing how much time you spend alone by actively seeking new friends or a new romantic partner. You can also look at the positives instead of the negatives. If you live alone in your apartment, you can look at the positives, like how you won't have to argue with someone because they ate your food, or how you don't have to wait to use the bathroom, instead of the negatives, which might make you feel down. In some situations, you will be alone because something happened, like your friends cancel plans, so it's up to you to make the best of it. If you can find something to do, you will feel less lonely. Second, figure out what triggered your feelings of loneliness and set the trigger aside. Maybe you were bored in your apartment on a Friday evening because your friends canceled plans and you started feeling lonely. The trigger was boredom, so you should find something to fill the void. You can try reading, learning something new, or go watch some funny videos. One thing I would try to avoid is social media. When you're scrolling down your feed, your mind will start comparing you to the people in the pictures, which will make you feel worse. Another possible but simpler scenario is maybe you start feeling lonely because you were listening to a sad song that reminded you of something. Switch over to a different song until loneliness isn't that much of a problem. Third, make a prediction spreadsheet. This was inspired by Charisma on Command. Having a prediction spreadsheet can help with loneliness, but the explanation comes later. For the prediction spreadsheet, you can make it on your phone before you start your day and update it as the day goes on. On the prediction spreadsheet, there are 3 columns: activity, prediction, and reality. On activities, you list down the activities you're going to do for the day. Ideally, spending time alone should be one of the activities on the prediction spreadsheet. On prediction, you give a score from 1 to 10, which is how you predict you will feel while you do the activity, with 10 being the highest score, which means you felt on top of the world. On reality, you give a score from 1 to 10 for how you actually felt when you were doing the activity. As you go about your day, you will be taking mental notes on how the activity makes you feel. Maybe getting lunch with your friend wasn't as fun as you thought it would be, and maybe being alone was more fun than you thought. At the end of the day, you might realize how off your predictions are. Without the spreadsheet, you will have a harder time understanding who you are. But how exactly does this relate to loneliness? Well, according to Carl Jung, loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or from holding certain views which others find inadmissible. It's possible to feel lonely because your connection to yourself is off. The spreadsheet helps you discover who you really are and what you like. To recap, being alone is the condition of not being surrounded by people physically. Being lonely is the emotion that comes from the desire for companionship, whether that is with others or with oneself. Remember that if you're alone, you won't be alone forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more, check out this playlist on the benefits of silence, which often goes hand in hand with solitude.